the steps in the Ministry of Education is taking to address the underfunding of public schools in general and junior schools and in specific, in light of the significant operations and infrastructure demand at this initial implementation phase on the comprehensive-based curriculum. 2, the mechanisms in place for verifications of the existence of schools before inclusion in the National Examination Management Information System, NEMIS, database, and the circumstances under which the 14 schools identified in the specific audit has having received capitation funds without evidence on the existence where including in the database. 3, the identify of officials in the Ministry of Education and the National Treasury responsible for the irregularities, as well as the steps being taken to hold them accountable and to recover any lost funds. 4, last, whether the Ministry of Education intends to understand a comprehensive verifications exercise to ascertain the accuracy and integrity of the data in the NEMIS database to avert loss of funds, public funds, through further disbursements of capitation funds on non-existent and non-operational schools. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I have 2 statements, but I will begin with mine. And this is a request for a statement on influx of wholesale traders from other counties into Samburu County. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the influx of wholesale traders from other counties into Samburu County. Madam Speaker, local business owners in Maralal, Baragoi, Achas Post, Wamba, and Suguta Marmar, urban centers in Samburu County, have raised alarm over the influx of traders from outside the county who transport goods in lorries and engage in wholesale trade directly with consumers. These trading activities have disrupted the local market dynamics and threatened the survival of local small and medium-sized enterprises in Samburu County. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the regulatory framework put in place by the county government of Samburu to govern entry into an operation within Samburu County by traders from other counties, subjected to the same licensing fee and levies paid by the local traders. Secondly, the enforcement mechanism in place to. Thirdly, the specific steps the county government is taking to protect local and small and medium-sized enterprises in Samburu County from unfair competition. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have a second statement by the Honorable Senator Catherine Muyeka Muma, who is you. And this is a request for a statement. And this is a request for a statement on the rise of uncheckered inflammatory utterances by influential public figures and political leaders. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration on a matter of national concern regarding the rising trend of uncheckered inflammatory utterances by leaders, particularly along ethnic lines. These utterances are contrary to Article 33(2) of the Constitution and the National Cohesion and Integration Act of 2008. In the statement, the committee should address the following. One, the measures being taken by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, to monitor, regulate, and deter the use of media platforms, both traditional and digital, in communicating messages that spread propaganda of war or conflicts, those which incite violence, those which amount to hate speech, or which advocate hatred that constitutes ethnic incitement, vilification of others, or incitement to cause harm or hatred that is based on any ground of discrimination specified in Article 23(4) of the Constitution. Secondly, whether NCIC has recommended any policy changes that would facilitate the regulation of internet governance frameworks in Kenya to facilitate effective protection against the use of social media to spread propaganda of war or conflict, to incite violence, to spread hate speech or advocate hatred that constitutes ethnic incitement, to vilify others or incite others to cause harm contrary to Article 33(2) A, B, and C, and D of the Constitution on freedom of expression. Thirdly, whether there is collaboration between NCIC, the Communications Authority of Kenya, the Media Council of Kenya, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, the National Gender and Equality Commission, as well as the investigative arms such as the National Police Service, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in stemming this vice. Fourth, the steps NCIC and other bodies are taking to promote responsible communication and exercise the freedom of expression, especially by leaders in preventing ethnic polarization. Senator Catherine Muma, dated 17th of July, 2025. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mwaruma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to request for a statement on the one-year contribution requirement by the Social Health Authority, SHA. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53(1) to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health on a matter of nationwide concern regarding the requirement by the Social Health Authority that patients contribute for a full year before accessing medical care. Madam Speaker, Section 17(1) of the Social Health Insurance General Regulations 2024 provide that households whose income is not derived from salaried employment shall contribute annually to the Social Health Insurance Fund at a rate of 2.75% of the household income, as determined through the prescribed means testing instruments under Regulation 21. This regulation is causing widespread concern as many Kenyans, despite making contributions, are being denied access to healthcare services because they have not completed a full year of payments. This situation undermines the fundamental rights enshrined in Article 43(1)A and Article 43(2) of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, which guarantees every person the right to the highest attainable standard of health, including the right to health care services. In the statement, the committee should address the following. One, the rationale behind denying medical services to patients who have not completed a full year of contributions, even in instances where the patient's contributions are up to date at the time of seeking treatment. Two, the government's position on this directive and the measures in place to address this matter. Three, whether personal data from the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, including contributor identity and contribution history, was successfully migrated to the SHA system. 4, whether the contributions made by N. Mkala Samba, ID number 67008002, and NHF number 05322375 on 21st February 2024, video check number 591049118, and receipted number BK 5830865, intended to cover her up to April 2027, are valid and usable under the SHARP platform, and if not, provide a remedy to her and all other similar cases across the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I don't see Senator Murango, so his statement will be deferred. Honorable Senators, I'll allow 15 minutes of comments on the statements, and I think, can we agree on 5 minutes for per speaker? Okay, 3 minutes per speaker. 3 minutes per speaker. Okay, Senator Sifuna.
Madam Speaker, allow me some latitude through Senator Kenyuri to pass my condolences to the family of the late Honorable Catherine Nyamato. As you know, Honorable Speaker, there is another great woman leader, Phoebe Asio, that we are also mourning through her son Caesar and the entire Asio family. I just want to say pole to the families and to tell them that they are in our prayers. Honorable Speaker, at the weekend I had the opportunity to meet some young women from the University of Nairobi under the auspices of the ODM Women League led by the President, Madam Beth Siengo, who is a member of this House. And I can tell you that even though Caesar, Phoebe Asio and Catherine Nyamato have left us, there is a great, bright future for women leadership in this country. I met some very young, brilliant women like Rosalind Alionya, Rachel Kavita, Mary Letitia, and Kimberly Grace. And I am sure you followed those proceedings when they were speaking to the press. Although the press was a bit unkind and was trying to harass them, I have no doubt that the leadership of women leadership has a very bright future. Honorable Speaker, allow me to comment on the statement on disappearances and then on checking of inflammatory utterances. Honorable Speaker, the reason we insist that we need to build a country that works for all of us is that no one is safe until everybody is safe. You have heard from Nandi, you have heard from Marsabit, the senator for there, also saying that senior civil servants are also being disappeared. And this is why we must resolve this question for all of us. Honorable Speaker, lastly, in 2007, I was one of those young people who were saying one term to Kibaki because we wanted him to go home. And we voted to take Kibaki home, Honorable Speaker. We were very shocked when we were told that our vote does not matter, that someone sitting somewhere can actually alter the results at the ballot. Honorable Speaker, there is very irresponsible talk from leaders telling us that in 2027, if the votes for William Ruto will not be sufficient, they will steal for him. And the NCIC has just kept quiet. With that history of 2007, Honorable Speaker, the precursor of the violence was in the interference with the will of the people. And I want to join those who are saying, Honorable Speaker, because we've been told to wait for a democratic opportunity to remove the current government. If we exercise that democratic right and then you go and mess it up the way they're threatening to do, this country will be on fire like it was in 2007. And we don't fear saying it. So, Honorable Speaker, if the NCIC, the IEBC that has just recently been sworn in, cannot even summon these leaders, because as I understand the law on election offenses, you cannot be saying that.
Senator Cheruyot.
Mr. Speaker, two quick comments. Number one is on this issue.
Madam Speaker, not Mr.
Apologies, Madam Speaker. I stand corrected. My apologies. Number one is on the statement by Senator Jones Mwaruma with regards to SHA. Madam Speaker, there's something untidy about how this provision for payment, either monthly or yearly, is being communicated particularly to the elderly people and those that live in the villages, Mr. Speaker. Over the weekend at a function, I was actually challenged by people who could not distinguish between what's the difference between monthly and yearly payment. Mr. Speaker, there is an assumption that everybody understands English and Kiswahili. That is not true. We live in a country, especially particularly those of us that represent rural counties, Madam Speaker, where we have the elderly who did not have the benefit of going to school, Madam Speaker. They too deserve access to that information. And therefore, I join myself in the comments by Senator Mwaruma that there needs to be clarity in that particular space. While me and you, who are salaried employees, Madam Speaker, will not face a challenge because this is deducted alongside our salaries, it's causing a lot of challenge to the ordinary citizens who have to pay either on a monthly, Madam Speaker, or yearly, and what provisions have been made. I know, for example, Madam Speaker, that SHA has actually provided even the opportunity that you can borrow funds, Madam Speaker, through Hustler Fund and end up paying for your monthly, your yearly contribution, so to speak. But that is not information that is available, Madam Speaker, to the people that I represent. And therefore, on that account, Mr. Speaker, I expect that the CEO will provide this information for citizens to be able to understand. Lastly, Madam Speaker, in the tabulation of how much each county government received in on-source revenue, I have seen governors from across the country include share contributions or compensation, rather, Madam Speaker, in the declaration. It will make more sense, Madam Speaker, if SHA gave us the information actually to know how much has been compensated back to each county, so that we can tell our governors that when we passed this law, we included something called a facility improvement fund. That money cannot be used for anything else other than to develop the hospitals for which that fund has been collected, Madam Speaker. And therefore, it will be important that when that statement is responded to, we get a breakdown of the compensation that has gone to each of the 47 counties in the last 7 months that SHA has been operational. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Nyamo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to contribute on the statement brought by Taita Taveta Senator Mwaruma, on the contributions of SHA, having a requirement that the beneficiaries must contribute at least yearly to enable you access the services. Madam Speaker, SHA is a very bold step by President William Ruto, and a very necessary one in our country towards universal health care. However, Madam Speaker, this provision that the beneficiaries need to contribute at least the annual deductions so that you can be able to access the service is somewhat discriminatory, because what happens to Mama Mboga who falls ill a month into contribution? What happens to the boda if he gets an accident after contributing for 2 to 3 months? We are exposing the same people that we seek to protect in this universal health care provision, and exposing them to the worst case scenario, even death, Madam Speaker. I think we need to relook the implementation. We need to have a 3-tier or maybe some tier in the sense that you can contribute after 3 months, you can access, after 6 months, you can access, so that we don't beat the purpose. The purpose is very noble, to ensure that our citizens at the bottom of the pyramid get to access healthcare equally for all Kenyans, regardless of your background or of financial strength. So, Madam Speaker, I want to urge the Committee for Health to interrogate this system and bring clarity to ensure that we do not beat the purpose of the whole system. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had walked out very briefly. I wanted to comment on the statement by Senator Ojenda on the matter of data misuse for digital lending firms. I think, Madam Speaker, that's a very important statement, because we are all exposed to this danger on our phone, where some people, in the process of borrowing digital loans, they use other people as references. And therefore, within a very short time, you see pop-up messages coming on your phone, maybe marketing messages or all kinds of messages which are targeting people. So I think it is an important thing that the Committee for ICT needs to look at, and also the institution responsible for matters of data protection can also look at that to safeguard the interest of Kenyans. And overall, Madam Speaker, I thought we also need to have proper regulations regulating these digital lending firms. They have really increased in number, and some of them are operating outside the banking regulation, outside the CBK regulation on matters of lending. So I think we need a proper framework, and that can also be handled by the Committee for Finance and Budget. Madam Speaker, I have also seen a statement by Senator Seki on the issue of funding of schools. Madam Speaker, it is so sad that many of our schools, especially secondary schools, are on the deathbed because of capitation challenges. Either the capitation money comes late, or that capitation money is not adequate to run the schools. I think something has to be done around the issue of funding of our schools. I was in one of the schools in my county where they cannot even afford lunch for students. The teachers are contributing so that they can cook lunch for the students. Mr. Speaker, when we get...
Senator Methu. Senator, 1 minute, and then we can move to Methu.
Madam Speaker, is a serious problem, and that problem is particularly common in day secondary schools in the villages, where parents cannot afford to pay exorbitant fees, and therefore they depend quite a lot on capitation from the government. So something has to be done around the issue of funding of schools. Madam Speaker, I support the two statements. Thank you very much.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not Mr. Speaker.
Sorry. I don't know why we are all confusing. But Madam Speaker, maybe it's because of the strength of your voice. Now, Madam Speaker, there are many statements that have been sought, and I want to comment on two of them. One that has been sought by Senator Mwaruma. And let me say this, Mr. Speaker. For those of us who oppose the current government, and those of us who are in the formation that I am in, we are said and we are seen to always oppose for the sake of it. But we all would want SHA to work, because we passed these laws. I was in Turkana. We passed these laws that put the SHA or the Social Health Authority into motion, Madam Speaker. And we must admit that when it is not working, something has to be done. It is not just about running in villages, in empowerments and saying SHA is working, SHA is not working. These are specific cases that have been raised in this specific statement. And I think the reason why this issue of SHA does not make sense to most of the members of parliament, and that's why they keep defending it, even when there are very glaring gaps in this SHA, Madam Speaker, is for the mere reason that most of us are, or rather, all of us are salaried. So our deductions are made just directly from our pay slips. And more importantly, we also have a very good medical cover. Because members of parliament have a very good medical cover, they don't care what the other Kenyans are feeling and how they are suffering, Honorable Speaker. Because it does not make sense that you have paid for SHA faithfully for 2, 4, 7 months, but if you have not paid for it annually, you cannot get this service, Madam Speaker. So now tell me, if you have to pay for 8 months and you are not able to get services on the 8th month, what happens about the other months that you have paid, Madam Speaker? So we shall continue speaking until this social health authority works the way it is supposed to work. Maybe finally, and I would want your guidance, Madam Speaker, on how you process statements as it was sought by Senator Dhangwa. I am a bit uncomfortable with the statement that has been sought by Senator Hezenare Maritian. Madam Speaker, in this statement, the good senator is asking for protection of traders because traders have come to their county in Samburu. Madam Speaker, I do not think there is a law that would prohibit anybody from doing business anywhere. Because what has been sought in this statement, Madam Speaker, is that there is a large influx of traders from outside the county who are doing transport of goods and...
Senator Methu, in 30 seconds, finish, please.
In fact, Madam Speaker, you should give me 1 minute because it is you who processed this particular statement, and this is a very defective statement. And Madam Speaker,
proceed.
We must speak about inclusivity. We cannot speak about inclusivity when we want to exclude some people from doing some business from some place. If you are to argue the same way, Senator from Nairobi will say that business people are doing business in Nairobi. Then it will be very difficult for me to set up a business in Kericho. It will be very difficult for a Kenyan to go and do business in Vihiga. We must allow free movement of goods and services. We must allow free trading between communities across board, Honorable Speaker. And I also find it very ridiculous that in one of the asks of the statement is the enforcement.
What's your point of order, Senator Cheruyot?
Madam Speaker, apologies to interrupt my neighbor. But I just wanted to request him to cut that part of the clip of what he has spoken in his lucid moment here in the House, where he speaks about inclusivity, and send it, Madam Speaker, to his party leader currently in the US, who has told us that only one community does business.
Senator Cheruyot, you are out of order. Senator Cheruyot, that is, Senator Methu, ignore that and finish with your 15 seconds.
You know, my former cousin, Madam Speaker, is a bit uncomfortable with with the new friends that I've got in the likes of Senator Sifuna, the new cousin now. But I just wanted to say, Madam Speaker, we cannot, the ask that has been asked on the enforcement mechanism to ensure that traders from other counties comply with the county trade and market laws. Madam Speaker, the enforcement is by the county, because the laws are by the county. What else is the committee or the Senate expected to do in terms of enforcement? If these people have paid the levies that are required, if they have paid the fees that are required to go and do business in Samburu, nobody can stop and nobody should stop. When we speak about integration...
Senator Omtata.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to continue from where Senator Methu has left off. That's a constitutional right for any Kenyan to live and reside and trade anywhere in this country, so we cannot curtail that freedom. But I will proceed to comment on the statement by Senator Mwaruma on the chief. Madam Speaker, it is really disheartening that we have reduced the health of people into a mechanism of extracting money from the poorest of the poor. SHIF is an extraction mechanism for stealing from the poor, because if we really wanted universal health care, we would begin by fixing public hospitals. We have not done that. Instead, we are forcing people who otherwise would have enjoyed cover to pay annually when they don't have capacity People should be allowed to pay according to their capacity if they have to enjoy a cover that is given by the state. But all said and done, Madam Speaker, the chief arrangement is an extortion mechanism, and that's why they are prioritizing to get as much money as they can from the Kenyan citizen. And that needs to be stopped, so that if the issue is to give people health care, let us fix the health system, let us get hospitals working, let us get the doctors in public hospitals, and let us run universal health care on public hospitals. Running universal health care on private hospitals is opening an avenue for looting from state coffers. So, Madam Speaker, I support this motion, and I pray that when the committee looks at it, it does a holistic job of looking at the entire architecture of universal health care, including answering the question whether you can credibly run universal health care on private hospitals. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Omutata. Senator Okenyuri Esther.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to comment on the statement by Senator Catherine Muma on unchecked inflammatory utterances by influential public figures. Madam Speaker, we cannot legislate on morality, because I think such kind of utterances has to do with behavior, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, the Kenyan populace cheers such kind of utterances. So what can we actually do in regard to the statement by Senator Muma? This is actually calling to the attention of all of us to actually check on the culture we have, Madam Speaker, because when you actually even observe political podiums, the most nasty statement is what people cheer. And what our young people learning, they're just picking up from what they see their leaders do. So I think before Senator Muma wants the committee to look into this, as leaders, we need to call ourselves into and just look at what examples we are showing to the young people, to the youth of this country, to the women, and any other person who's expecting direction from we as leaders. We have actually disappointed them, Madam Speaker. So in as much as Senator Muma is concerned with this behavior, it is a challenge on we as leaders to look at how we change the culture and improve behavior. Madam Speaker, I also wish to comment on the statement by Senator Hezena on influx of traders to Samburu. I hope she was trying to address about trade imbalance. That being a concern, the best way to look at it is to look at what is actually most pressing, not restricting movement of those traders, Madam Speaker, because as a sponsor of the street vendors bill, that is not one way of protecting small-scale traders and also protecting the hassles people engage in. So there is a better way of addressing the trade imbalance so that both counties in Samburu and those not in Samburu can benefit from this exchange that is happening. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Esi. Senator Osotsi Godfrey Atieno. Next order.
Order number 16, motion, consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the Startup Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2022.
Person standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism to move the motion. That's you are holding forth.
Yes. The
Senator Esi, proceed as the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm holding forth for the Chair. I'm the Vice Chairperson of that committee. And Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the National Assembly amendments to the Startup Bill, that is Senate Bills number 14 of 2022, be now considered. Briefly, Madam Speaker, the Startup Bill actually seeks to provide a framework to encourage growth, sustainable technological development, new entrepreneurship, employment, and creating a more favorable environment for innovation and attract Kenyan talents and capital. I also wish to thank my sister, Senator Christo Asige, for this bill. And after the bill was passed by the Senate, that is on the 21st of February 2024, the bill was transmitted to our sister house as required by the Constitution. The Committee on Trade that I sit in the National Assembly considered this bill and came up with 51 amendments to the bill. Our committee reviewed the amendments made by the National Assembly and agreed with the 25 amendments but rejected 26 amendments. Madam Speaker, the amendments by the National Assembly that the committee adopted enriched this bill further, and the committee saw no need in dropping them. Madam Speaker, allow me to also comment on the amendments that the committee rejected. The committee noted that the National Assembly had actually sidelined county governments in this bill. They had removed counties from participating in any role. An example is deleting the definitions of CEC or county executive member. The committee rejected deletion of this because deleting the role of the CEC as it is would make implementation at the county level impossible. So under clause 4 of this bill, the National Assembly deleted the role of the agency and the county governments and replaced it with the role of agency and the estate in implementation of the Act number 4. So our committee rejected this proposal and reinstated the functions of the county government. Having deleted clause 4, which related to the functions of the county governments, the National Assembly deleted clause 5, whose reference is incubation programs and the role of national and county governments play. So our committee also rejected this proposal and resolved that provision in respect of the role of county governments be reinstated and the incubation programs should be provided for under this bill. The committee further observed that since startups operate within both the national and county government economies, a coordinated approach is necessary to balance national policies with local. Okay. So, Madam Speaker, the National Assembly also wanted to delete the registrar of startups, whose responsibility was to register startups and replace with a startup committee. The committee resolved to restore the registrar of startups because the committee proposed by the National Assembly had reduced the function in comparison to the registrar of startups. Madam Speaker, I therefore ask members to read this report and adopt as presented by the Committee of Trade, Industrialization and Tourism. Madam Speaker, I move and request the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot, to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hesio Kenyuri, Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second this motion by the Vice Chairperson of the Trade Committee. The startup bill is a very important bill. This bill has gone full cycle now because we attempted to conclude on it last time, but unfortunately our colleagues in the sister house, Madam Speaker, did not agree with many of the provisions that we had put in at that particular time. I am at least at this point impressed, Madam Speaker, that they have considered it, albeit with amendments that many of us will find very difficult to agree to. And therefore, it is on that basis, Madam Speaker, that we are moving this motion to reject or to consider, the parliamentary language is consider, but in true sense what we are doing is that we are rejecting the amendments, quite a number of the amendments from the National Assembly, because our perspective and our view to issues as a House, Madam Speaker, diametrically differs with how our colleagues from the sister House look at things. And that's the beauty of our democracy, that's the beauty of a bicameral parliament, Madam Speaker. We serve to protect the interest of county governments, Madam Speaker. And any time somebody does any amendment to any law that is to the disadvantage of county governments, we find it very difficult. I personally, Madam Speaker, will never support such a bill, because I know for a fact that having looked at the history of this country, Madam Speaker, despite my relatively young age, I know that looking at the 60 years that Kenya has been under self-governance, Madam Speaker, devolution still occupies the pridal place as the best innovation ever by the people of Kenya to themselves. And at every turn, Madam Speaker, we should always seek to entrench it and ensure that when we pass laws in this House, Madam Speaker, we're actually fostering devolution. The rest of the challenges we'll deal with later. The thieving that we have in our county governments and all these things, I have said times without number that they are not unique. They are a Kenyan problem that exists both at the national and county government. So it should never be a basis, Madam Speaker, upon which you deny functions to county government. If it is about inefficiency, Madam Speaker, the same level of inefficiency that I see in the national government is what I see in county governments, Madam Speaker. Therefore, that can also not be a basis upon which somebody argues and says, oh, there'll be efficiency in a particular office. In fact, to the contrary, Madam Speaker, I am a firm believer, Madam Speaker, that if you want to actually exercise, Madam Speaker, efficiency in service delivery, let us devolve more functions of the national government, Madam Speaker. What is the problem, Madam Speaker, if people are allowed to register businesses back in their counties and keep a single registry? What is unique about a business registration, Madam Speaker, that it has to be centralized, Madam Speaker? There is no problem. I know there can be ways through which you have a similar system that checks and ensures that you don't have same registration details to one particular business within the jurisdiction of the country, Madam Speaker. But if you check through the process through which people go to, and you are told, oh, you have to wait, I don't know, the papers have gone to Nairobi for this or the other, Madam Speaker, there is need to further decentralize. If you go to a Huduma Center in Kagio, next to your home, Madam Speaker, and you want to register a startup as a person from the village where you come from, they will tell you, yes, you can begin that particular exercise. But it will take a lot of time, Madam Speaker, because that system is still centralized. It has to be sent here to Nairobi to be counter-checked. Then it goes back, Madam Speaker. That is no way of ensuring that there is efficiency. On this particular issue, for example, of registration of businesses, Madam Speaker, and the desire to have a registrar purely for startup businesses, Madam Speaker, I would want, though, to be convinced by the committee why they want us to go the way they are proposing. Though I do not agree also with what the National Assembly had proposed, that the current business registrar is sufficient. There was good thinking, Madam Speaker, in the logic as to coming up with a startup bill. We understand that there is a process of registering a business, but a startup, Madam Speaker, faces unique challenges. And what is being envisioned in this particular bill is to make it easy for those that run startups, Madam Speaker, to actually operate with very little or minimum government interference. I wish our colleagues in the National Assembly, and this is why I disagree with them on many occasions, had actually restricted themselves or at least said something about the issue of taxation challenges that startups face in this country, Madam Speaker. Because every time we introduce an amendment that appears, even at the minutest of detail close to anything to do with taxation, that house goes up in flame and they reject it. Then it is our genuine expectation that because they have self-governed on that particular topic and say they're the only ones who have the ability to consider it, that they would have at least have said something about either tax rebates, Madam Speaker, or having a special unit within KRA to specifically handle the issues, Madam Speaker, of startups, Madam Speaker, because you'll find that the same legal requirements that are faced by businesses that have been in existence for 50, 60 years, Madam Speaker, some of them extremely stringent, and you will require somebody who runs a complete enterprise, complete with an accountant, Madam Speaker, for them to meet the tax requirements. And you know how we change our taxation policy in this country almost on a yearly basis. It was my genuine expectation, Madam Speaker, that for somebody who runs a startup, where they are the CEO, they are the HR manager, they are the accountant, Madam Speaker, we will make the taxation regime very friendly to them, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, that hasn't been spoken into. If the House agrees with what the Trade Committee is telling us, that we actually consider these amendments and reject some of them, that will trigger a mediation. It is my hope that the people that will put into that mediation committee to represent us in this House, at least because at the mediation level, Madam Speaker, they can introduce something, say something about a tax proposition to startups, Madam Speaker, providing a unique environment for them so that you don't have to consider them alongside more established businesses, to make it possible for them to transact, to trade, to deal, Madam Speaker, and grow their enterprises devoid of all these other challenges. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you. Thank you, Majority Leader. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the National Assembly amendments to the Startup Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2022, be now considered. Senator Osotse.
I'm actually waiting
His name needs to be removed from the dashboard. Senator Crystal Kegehia Sige, this was your bill. You can contribute to it.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I would like to, first of all, give my hearty gratitude to the Trade Committee, which has considered the amendments to the Startup Bill, which have come from the National Assembly. I want to really commend the work that they've done. It's, from what I have read from the amendments of National Assembly, there were quite a few amendments that they have proposed to the bill, and through the chair of Trade Committee, Senator for Kwale County, and the vice chair who has just moved this motion. Chair, I want to thank them sincerely. Sorry, Speaker, I want to thank them sincerely. Speaker, you will know that I'm the sponsor of the bill. I had tabled it, as Vice Chair has said, back in 2023, and it's taken quite a long journey to come to this point. And I have also looked at the report that has been made by the Trade Committee in the Senate to the amendments, and I want to agree with and support wholly with the suggestions that they have made to the Startup Bill. Speaker, it would really hurt this House if we carried on and supported the amendments in full that the Assembly have made and suggested to us, because then that would mean in the end, our functions as a Senate would be moot. And that, of course, would remove any kind of responsibility or function or mandate to the Senate if we were to agree in full with these amendments that have been made and proposed. Speaker, rejecting or removing the function of the CEC at the county level would really tear down at the spirit in which I wrote and drafted and pushed for this particular bill. So that, for me, I agree with. And also removing the function of the registrar, whereby startups are able to go get themselves registered so that they can get the support that many of the amendments or many of the clauses that I have put in the bill, they would have enjoyed. Then again, it becomes a really big issue for us as a Senate, as a House, to see ourselves represented and to see ourselves as having a say or a task, any kind of task within this bill, Speaker. So, of course, there are some in the report from the Trade Committee that have approved some of the amendments that National Assembly put forth, which I also want to agree with. I want to trust that the Senate Committee on Trade and Industrialization have gone through every single clause and really deliberated and articulated the issues for or against each one. And I have no problem with the ones they have said should carry on as amended by the National Assembly. However, as the Majority Leader has rightfully said, for the ones that we do want to reject from the National Assembly, that will trigger a mediation process. Speaker,
we want to be able to have this mediation process move as smoothly as possible. So if at this point already I can plead with my Senate colleagues to start talking to our members of parliament and our colleagues in the other house and explain to them that if we go by every single one of their amendments, then we will have no place in this bill. I, as the sponsor of the bill, will have no place in the bill. And of course, at the end of the day, the people who are the stakeholders, the young people, our business owners, our innovators, our entrepreneurs, our science and research fellows across the country, they'll be the ones to suffer, Speaker, because this is what this bill speaks to. It speaks to trying to solve the problem of unemployment, because as young people, we are trying to say that if we're not going to get employed, then we might as well create employment and become the employer. And that's the spirit of this startup bill, Speaker. And if we continue down the route that has been suggested by the National Assembly, then I'm afraid that this will not have a positive consequence on the people that it's supposed to serve, which is young people and entrepreneurs across the country. So, Speaker, in short, I would like to support the report by our Trade Committee and encourage and plead and beseech the rest of the House to vote no to the National Assembly amendments because, as has been said, we are not in full agreement at this very moment. It will trigger a mediation process, and in that process, we can all sit down, members from each side of the House, from each House, pardon me, and we can sit down and hash out what is critical that needs to remain to have both Houses a mandate not to be removed from the bill, and also what can be done away with at this point, Speaker. At the end of the day, we need to remember that we're not here to serve ourselves or a piece of paper, but all we are doing is to serve young people and entrepreneurs across the country so that they can look for gainful and meaningful employment, as well as contribute to the innovation and to our economy as young people and as individuals with their fantastic ideas. We need to create an environment that is conducive to them. We need to be able to support in capacity building through the different hubs that are being suggested through the bill that I put forward, to have funding, support them at their startup level with all kinds of training and seed funding to their ideas and innovations, Speaker, and all of that is within this bill. So the sooner we get to the mediation process, the sooner we agree on both sides from both sides of Parliament, and the sooner we come back and vote on this bill to be passed, then the sooner we are going to support our young people across the country. And I, for one, feel that that should be our bottom line. And that is my bottom line, to listen, to oversight, and to articulate so that we can legislate fully and effectively for the people that we're here to serve. I support and I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Christo. There are no other senators willing to contribute, so I'll call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 66-3 to request that we defer putting of the question to a later date. Thank you.
The putting of the question is deferred to a later date. Next order. I will now take this opportunity to reorganize the order paper. Next.
Order number 25, the Technopolis Bill, National Assembly Bills number 6 of 2024, second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Technopolis Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024, be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this bill, the Technopolis Bill, was published in the Kenya Gazette Supplement number 30 of 2024, dated on the 2nd of February 2024, and passed by the National Assembly actually in the month of December last year, after which it was referred to this House in the month of February, and our committee has done some fairly good job on it, listened to stakeholders, Madam Speaker. Our aspirations as a country to be the regional and perhaps even challenge global leaders in the technology space, Madam Speaker, is not a secret. Over the years, there are many things that even world-renowned tech giants have visited this country actually to learn a thing or two about the things that we do as a country. And in the use of technology, Madam Speaker, despite the fact that we have many other challenges, Madam Speaker, has helped many people create businesses. There are many young people today, Madam Speaker, who, in the absence of the technological innovative space that exists in this country, will actually be jobless. And Madam Speaker, therefore, as policy makers, as legislators, we must always strive to find ways in which we continue to work hard and make ourselves respectable global leaders. At least on the African continent, Madam Speaker, I know for a fact that very few nations will hold a candle to us in this particular space, where it's regard to IT startups, Madam Speaker, or even at the very basic level, Madam Speaker, availability of internet services, Madam Speaker, through the broadband superhighway across the country. You understand, Madam Speaker, because you were Secretary General of UDA at that particular time, that part of our 5 key agendas is actually the digital superhighway, Madam Speaker, to lay over 100,000 kilometers of cable across the country so that people can easily access internet. Because you understand that there are many young people who actually draw or learn, Madam Speaker, or run their businesses, Madam Speaker, through the internet space. And it is important, Madam Speaker, to ensure that this is provided for and we do things that encourage this innovation. I am only disappointed, Madam Speaker, in the fact that as we speak today, this bill will actually be responding to only one of the digital hubs at that very high level that has been set up in the country, which is the Konza Technopolis, Madam Speaker. It would have been my hope and appreciation if similar campuses will be replicated. I've had opportunity when I served in the ICT committee in my first term in this Senate, Madam Speaker, to actually visit 2 what you would refer to as a proper digital hub. One is the Panasonic Center in Tokyo, Japan, and 2, Madam Speaker, I forget the exact name, Madam Speaker, of a particular city in China, but it was within that particular space that I began to appreciate what exactly such developments as a Konza Development Center, Madam Speaker, IT Development Center, Madam Speaker, would do and contribute in terms of business opportunity to this country. And we must always strive and find ways through which we strengthen and provide them with a legal framework, Madam Speaker, so that they are able to invest, Madam Speaker, and attract actually investment. People can come and set up their businesses here. You understand, Madam Speaker, that last year, when the President visited the United States of America, there are quite a number of IT firms that expressed desire and interest to come and study and understand this Kenyan technology space and why it continues to be a trailblazer on the continent, Madam Speaker. But there are many things that held them back from investing. Of course, Madam Speaker, the space to work on, the very harboring, actually, cost of power, Madam Speaker. It's something that provided a significant challenge to many of them, because if you work and look into this technological space, Madam Speaker, you provide the conducive environment for these companies to come and set up their businesses. Remember, this is a space that is extremely competitive. If you expect them to buy even something as simple as power at the same cost, Madam Speaker, with another industry that manufactures cement and the rest, they will not compete and they will never find us attractive. That's why you're creating this authority, so that, Madam Speaker, at that Konza Technopolis, it's one of the Vision 2030 projects that as a country, if we are able actually to set it the level that it was envisioned in the year I think 2000, I don't know when, 2005, Madam Speaker, when it was first launched, Madam Speaker, then we can say actually that we have ticked part of the items that we signed up for in the year 2005 as a country. You know, the unfortunate thing about us, Madam Speaker, is that there is an obsession almost by every administration to try and recreate a new program and put in the energy of the things that they feel this is what will be known more about. But I must appreciate, Madam Speaker, that at least there are things that we are continuing to try and improve and make better that date as far back as 2 administrations before this. And I must appreciate that about the administration of the day, Madam Speaker. Otherwise, if you had taken the path of saying that we ignore what others did because we will not get the political clout about it, Madam Speaker, and the things that are being said, you know, a leader, Madam Speaker, must do the right thing either way. Whether you're praised or not praised, right remains to be the right thing. You know, last week I saw comments when there was a video that was done about Nairobi River and what the restoration program that is being done. There were comments. If you read the comments down the line, people are saying, oh, this was initiated by the previous administration, and so on and forth. It doesn't matter. Just do the right thing at the end of the day. And I believe that needs to be the guiding spirit on many of projects that have been initiated, were well-meaning, and if they had been properly funded, Madam Speaker, will have caused significant change in our country. I believe that is a guiding ideology in trying to fulfill actually the dream that the NAC administration had when they set up the Konza Digital Center, Madam Speaker. I have visited that place, and Madam Speaker, if you visit that place today, you will understand and appreciate that there is big potential and the opportunity to employ thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of young people if we achieve, Madam Speaker, and provide them with the necessary support that is needed. That's why this bill is extremely important, and I have sat down, Madam Speaker, for all those hours waiting for an opportunity that we consider this bill, add our thoughts, Madam Speaker. I have seen that our colleagues in the ICT committee have proposed a raft of amendments. I have just scanned through their report, which is available on our, what is it called, the IT system, Madam Speaker. And there are many things that they are proposing to amend. And I agree with actually almost all of them. There may be 1 or 2 that I'll need further convincing or to understand the perspective from which, Madam Speaker, the members of ICT are speaking to us about. But the objective of this bill will actually provide us with a comprehensive framework to establishment of a Technopolis in Kenya and create this authority known as the Technopolis Development Authority, which is responsible for the development, governance, planning, management, improvement, and maintenance of every Technopolis that is available. That's a point I was speaking to Senator Osotsi, that as we speak today, it's only Konza that we can refer to. But it will be my wish that this is set up in the different parts of the country. Madam Speaker, you know, for example, that in Bomet, where Senator Sigei comes from, that there are young people there who I am yet to understand their operation procedures, Madam Speaker. They don't go to any university. You will never find them trained. They barely even speak English, Madam Speaker. But the things they can do when they are placed in front of a computer, Madam Speaker, I still feel that actually we are not treating them correctly, because many of them, after they have hacked into Safaricom servers, bank systems, we only arrest them and take them to jail. I believe, Madam Speaker, that much as what they are doing is wrong, you need to harness more than just, apart from punishing them, Madam Speaker, you need to understand them better also and establish this knowledge that they have. Is it something that we can tap into as a country, Madam Speaker? Because if somebody has not gone to school, Madam Speaker, but they're able to crack the hardest of bank security systems and withdraw money from your phone or from your bank systems, Madam Speaker, while you're seated here, Madam Speaker, that person deserves more than prison. You can have them in prison, Madam Speaker, but also have them teach or earn while they're still there and sustain their families, Madam Speaker. I don't want to lose track, but it's just to make the point, Madam Speaker, that apart from Konza, we will need so many other Technopolis stations across the country. This was a strategic intent of our country, and we need to transition actually into this space, and it has taken us quite a while. I hope that with the passage of this bill and after granting the Konza Technopolis, Madam Speaker, this legal framework, they will be able actually to thrive and attract investment from as many will be investors, Madam Speaker, not necessarily startups, Crystal, but even established global IT companies that will wish to set up base in Africa, because I believe this is one amongst very few, if there are any others actually, that will compete with it on the continent. And it is my most sincere hope, Madam Speaker, that we can conclude on this process as soon as possible, preferably even before we go on recess. I don't know if our colleagues from the Assembly will agree to our amendments so that we bring it to a close, but it's one of those bills that you don't want to take too long, Madam Speaker, before bringing the process of consideration to a close. There are many things that they are amending, Madam Speaker, which I believe, if you read the report, you'll find justification too. There are other things also in this bill, even without the amendments, Madam Speaker, of our colleagues from the ICT committee. Personally, I would find challenge to support, and I'd wish perhaps that they add on to the amendments, like Clause 23, Madam Speaker, that gives powers to this Technopolis Development Control, that this authority shall have the power within a Technopolis to regulate zoning, including land use and density of development. It is my hope. You know, land use, Madam Speaker, is a devolved function. And this authority that you're creating is heavy with the presence of what you would call the national government. There needs to be a counterbalance with regards to existence of also either bodies or representatives from county government, so that if they were to pass a policy, I understand that there is need to ensure that there is proper regulated land use, Madam Speaker, in any designated area that will have been gazetted as a technopolis. But, Madam Speaker, that needs to be done within the realization that this country, Madam Speaker, under the new constitution, has two levels of government, and therefore there's need to have representation from, Madam Speaker, the national as well as the county governments in making some of these decisions, and so on and so forth, Madam Speaker. There are many other things that I have wished to say, but I'm cognizant of the fact that there is time limited, and I want to grant also my colleague, Senator Osotsi, sufficient time. You know, Senator Osotsi is fairly adept at these issues. Anytime you mention any statement to do with the data protection, I have noted actually, you will get a comment from Senator Osotsi. The same way if you mention something to do with, no, I don't want to get into trouble, Madam Speaker. And it's late in the day, Madam Speaker, because I don't want to lose track of the things that I'm saying. Therefore, with those remarks, I beg to move and request the Senator for Vihiga, Senator Godfrey Osotsi, to second this bill. I thank you.
Majority Leader, Senator Osotsi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and Majority Leader. Indeed, Madam Speaker, I'm delighted to second this bill. And I want to say that this piece of legislation is one of the very important things that were contained in Vision 2030 that was started after 2013. And it's taken a while for us to realize the benefits of having technopolis in our country. Madam Speaker, you can imagine that the idea about having Konza City was started during Kibaki regime. Kibaki finished, went, and then it continued on to President Uhuru's regime. He finished and he went. Up to now, we are still talking about Konza City. By now, we should actually be accruing the benefits of Konza City. Madam Speaker, I've read through the bill, and one thing that I'm happy with the bill is that there was an initial bill that was proposing to have Konza Metropolis Authority. I had a problem with that, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, because how many Metropolis Authority were we going to establish? Because Konza is one, someone else would have come with another one, and another one, and another one. So we'll end up having so many authorities and that would be a problem. So the idea of now consolidating all this in one metropolis authority, I think is an idea that we should all support, so that anyone seeking to run a metropolis can be allowed to run it, but under the regulation of one authority, which in this case is Metropolis Authority. So on that basis, I support this bill. But Madam Speaker, even as I support this bill, because I know it's going to bring order in the way metropolises are going to be established, they are going to be run, how land use within those metropolises is going to be managed, how licensing of various institutions is going to be done, it's a good idea. But it is also myopic. And I'm sorry to say that this bill, there are provisions which are myopic. Madam Speaker, in a metropolis, you cannot limit the metropolis to a geographical area. You cannot limit a metropolis to a buffer zone, just a defined area, and say this number of acres of land will be used by Konza City. Madam Speaker, we know technologies are growing every day. And therefore, the idea of limiting, for example, Konza to only about 2,023 acres, I think that one is myopic, and we should amend so that there is no limitation. It's like now saying we want to have a city. That city must be established within 1,000 acres of land. Madam Speaker, cities are growing every day. Institutions are growing every day. So I have a problem with that limitation, that a metropolis will be limited to a particular size of a buffer zone, a particular size of a geographical area. It is not proper. It is not proper thinking. And given that, Madam Speaker, this is going to be an area that is going to host technologies, ICT technologies, it is not proper. Because in ICT, Madam Speaker, and I'm talking as someone who is very experienced in this field, Madam Speaker, we have something that is called, when you are conceptualizing an idea, a product, or a solution in ICT, you must look at the wider context. Anytime, for example, if you are developing a piece of software, think widely about what other things can ride on that solution you are building. For example, Mr. Speaker, you have seen institutions like telecommunication companies establishing a solution. And then after a very short time, you hear that they want to scale it up, introduce another solution to it. Every time they do that, it is costly. That's why in IT, we encourage that every time you are conceptualizing a solution, you must have a wider thinking. That wider thinking is not reflected in this bill because it is limiting a metropolis, a technopolis, to only 2,000 acres of land, Madam Speaker. It's not making sense. So even as the National Assembly has processed this bill, and now it has come to the Senate, one of the key amendments should actually to remove this provision. Let the land use regulation be there, but don't limit the land size. That will be myopic. And more so, Madam Speaker, because this bill, under Section 20 of the bill, is recommending that all digital services, government digital services, should go to metropolis, technopolis, Konza City. Tax, immigration, permit and approval, licensing of business, the Ministry of ICT, and regulatory bodies like CA and all other IT institutions should go to Konza City. If you are saying that and you are limiting land size, then there is a problem, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, on that issue of limitation of land size and the issue of having a buffer zone, I think that is not good thinking. That is not wisdom. This Senate should amend that so that we allow what we call ability to scalability. We allow scalability. That is the right word of IT I wanted to use. And that is why every countries, these modern countries, which modern technologies, they have established what you call smart cities. In those smart cities, if you go to China, you go to India, you go to Russia and other countries, the smart cities have no limitation or boundaries. They have no limitation. This is the first technopolis that is being defined in terms of number of acres. Madam Speaker, just look at the definition of Konza City, for example. Look at the definition of Konza City. This is what it says. It says, Konza metropolis means all that parcel of land known as land reference number 991-8/6, measuring 23.6 hectares or thereabout. Is that how you define a technopolis? No, you cannot define a technopolis based on the definite size of land. This bill cannot pass in the form it is in, Madam Speaker. We will have done injustice to this country. So I said I'm supporting it, but with some reservations, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you look at the function of the authority, that the authority will allocate land to investors. I mean, are we going to take away the work of Ministry of Land and give it to this authority, or National Land Commission and give it to this authority? I think that must be looked at, because this is another area that land grabbers will come in and allocate themselves land in Konza City and other technopolis, Madam Speaker. That must be looked at. But, Madam Speaker, I'm being encouraged by my colleagues to be very brief, but you know, this is my area, Madam Speaker. So let me educate this House a bit in these areas. Madam Speaker, another area of concern is the composition of the board. Madam Speaker, the board has a chairperson, it has a PS, Ministry of ICT, PS, Treasury, Attorney General, and 5 other persons appointed by the Cabinet Secretary through a competitive process. I want to say that the reason why this country cannot maximize on its huge resources of human resources in the ICT industry is because in institutions that are supposed to be headed by people who understand technology, people who understand IT, are being headed by people who have no idea about IT. And we are repeating this mistake here, Madam Speaker. If you look at Communication Authority, it's being headed by a journalist. He has no idea about ICT. If you look at ICT Authority, it's being headed by someone who does not understand ICT. For the first time, Madam Speaker, I will be sponsoring an amendment to say that the chairperson of this authority must have someone who is educated, knowledgeable in an ICT environment. Either software engineering, artificial intelligence, or those kind of things. Not just to appoint someone. You may find a politician is appointed to be the chairperson of this authority. This authority will not accomplish its mission. And the 5 persons, it must be clear that at least 3 of those persons must have people with an ICT background, attested, verified, and measured experience in ICT industry. That way, we'll make progress as a country. But when we start this kind of ICT institutions and give jobs to people who have no background in ICT, we end up not. And Madam Speaker, you know, in the last parliament, I came up with a bill called ICT Practitioners Bill, where I wanted to have a legal framework to regulate the ICT profession so that we get to understand who is an expert and who is not an expert.
Senator Osotsi, Senator Medhu has something to inform you about what you're debating.
Senator Medhu calls me a cousin, so let me allow him to.
Senator Medhu.
Yeah, this new arrangement is very good. Now Senator Osotsi can trust that. I just wanted to inform him in the spirit of what he's proposing, that he would want professionals to take especially roles on profession that they can, they are professionals in. I've just Googled. The chairperson of the ICT authority is called Mary Wambui Mungai, and there is no known educational background of this person. Her profession is just businesswoman.
Thank you for that information. All of us know who she is and her level of experience. That's what I want. And heading a critical institution like
is there a relationship between that information and what you were debating? What's your point of order, Senator Chirarike?
He was informing me.
Share accuracy of facts, because she has said, he said he knows who she is. Madam Speaker, accuracy of facts. Does it mean that Kenyans who are not experts in, for example, legislative agenda, like him, is a forester? Should he be here? Mr. Speaker, like, I'm not saying his name, Madam Speaker, we need to protect, and this habit of Senator Metu, like his party leader, Wamunyoro, he wants to profile the community. Does it mean Mary Wambui, who is an established, Madam Speaker, a renowned business, you know, this is a person who is an entrepreneur from the scratch.
Let him finish.
Yes,
Senator
Madam
Speaker,
Mary Wambui is one of the trailblazers in women who have built an enterprise from scratch. Unlike some individuals who are here, they have never built even a Chang'an kiosk. Madam Speaker, you need to protect this issue of profiling communities, and individuals must stop. Mr. Speaker, and that is why I'm saying it is mentioning, because she is a Kikuyu. And we know where he is headed, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chirarike, so Senator Chirarike, what's your point of order?
The point of order is under Article 10 of the Constitution. Every Kenyan has a right to sit in, and that is why if today, Madam Speaker, for example,
you must,
if we were, Madam Speaker, let me just conclude,
Senator Chirarike,
so that you can rule.
Senator Sifuna, let me finish with Senator Chirarike. Can you give an indication of which standing order you are using?
Madam Speaker, I'm using standing order 105 and Article 10 of the Constitution. One of the reasons is even regional balance.
What is the point of order?
The point, Madam Speaker,
Senator Medhu,
the point, Madam Speaker, is Kenyans are watching, is perception that Kenyans who are not come from particular expertise should not be leading there. Like I'm using an example in the Senate. He is a forester. If we wanted to go for people who know legislative drafting, he should not be here. Then why profile individuals, Madam Speaker?
Okay, Senator Chirarike, resume your seat. Senator Medhu, have you understood the point of order? Senator Sifuna, resume your seat, Senator Medhu. Let's first hear, Senator. I will deal with it. Let me hear the standing order, the point of order being raised by Senator Sifuna. Give him the mic.
Go to this. Okay. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 121, 1B. Senator Chirarike is in the habit of raising knowingly false points of order and using that opportunity to introduce debate that had nothing to do with what was being said on the floor. I don't remember Senator Osotsi mentioning the name of any tribe, neither did Senator Methu. Honorable Speaker, Osotsi was speaking about getting people who are fit for purpose and competence. We have lost the culture of meritocracy in this country. How can you be a dairy farmer and you want to head an ICT farm? So you just wait for somebody who has expertise, and when we have a vacancy in the Kenya Dairy Board, we will call you. There is nothing wrong with that, Honorable Speaker. But this thing of Senator Cherargei repeatedly rising on false points of order, I want to beseech the seat of the Speaker to punish this gentleman for once, Honorable Speaker. This is too much. It is too much.
Senator,
and Honorable Speaker, can I finish, Honorable Speaker?
Yes, but I need to guide you. Refer to the conduct of Senator Cherargei during these proceedings.
That's what I'm doing.
So that it confines me to give direction within what has been done now. Because if you refer to previous sessions, we do not have the record there. So refer to what he has done now, so we can confine our directions to what he has done within this session.
Honorable Speaker, the Hansard exists for a purpose. It is possible for us to establish conduct that is established, that it is repeated conduct. In fact, today is just one of those opportunities that have actually been given to address a question of frivolous and false points of order. But Senator Cherargei has abused this, and the speakership should note that there are some people here now, Honorable Speaker, who should not be allowed to rise on points of order. It cannot be that you are the only person who knows when other people are out of order. Can you allow Senator Esio Kenyuru to also rise on a point of order for a change? Because it can't just be Cherargei, and we are getting sick and tired of this rubbish from Senator Cherargei.
Senator Sifuna, rubbish is not, the reference to the word rubbish is not parliamentary language. Can you withdraw the reference of that word rubbish? Then I deal